The movie opens during the era of the Second World War, specifically in August 1944. During this period, the German forces retreated from France. As they depart, they begin to seize the gold and money stored in French banks. Concurrently, they also appropriate valuable paintings and artworks from French museums. Transporting these assets in their trucks, the German convoy halts in the city of Grahavio in Yugoslavia. The German troops start rounding up the city's inhabitants from their homes onto the streets. Amidst this chaos, a woman manages to protect her young child from the German forces. She swiftly ushers her child out through the rear window. At night, the German army unloads gold from trucks into a Grahavio bank. Meanwhile, Yugoslavian rebels plan to flood the city by blowing up a dam to eliminate the German forces. Fast forward to 1995, war-torn Bosnia is under a general's control. A van arrives to interview the general, carrying two individuals who are thoroughly searched. They are taken to the general by Petrovic, a Bosnian army officer. Petrovic informs them that the general wants to be perceived as innocent, not a cruel leader. The two, revealed to be U.S. Navy SEAL commandos Stanton Baker and Kurt Buffy, prepare for the interview. There's a lake near the general's camp from which three Navy SEAL commandos, Matt Barnes, Ben Moran, and Jack Potter, emerge. They infiltrate an old factory and plant explosives beneath the general's room. Meanwhile, Stanton and Kurt interview the general. Kurt feigns a technical issue, uses a concealed pen to render the general unconscious, while Stanton eliminates the guards. The team detonates the explosives, creating an escape route. They flee with the unconscious general in a body bag. Petrovic, alerted by the noise, investigates with his men. The U.S. Navy commandos extract the general from the basement, only to find Serb soldiers at their extraction point. They engage in a firefight, eliminating the soldiers. When another Serb boat arrives, they retreat back into the basement. They discover a hidden area housing military vehicles and tanks. Deciding to escape in a tank, team leader Matt Bernard drives the tank through a wall, initiating a chase with the Bosnian Serb army. Spotting a tower, Bernard instructs Jack to topple it. Jack succeeds, and Bernard drives the tank clear just as the tower collapses, causing a pileup. Bernard flees across a lake bridge in a tank, but is cornered by additional tanks and vehicles, including one driven by Army officer Petrovic. Bernard instructs Jack to move to the bridge's edge, then drives the tank off the bridge into the lake. As the tank fills with water and under fire from Bosnian Serb soldiers, Bernard orders his team to abandon the tank. They surface near a Bosnian Serb army board, eliminate the soldiers there, and commandeer the board. Finally, Bernard and his team, along with the captured Bosnian army general, reach the U.S. Army camp. The commanding officer, Admiral Levin, is mad about the way they handled the whole situation, but they had no choice because their escape route was blocked, so they needed to use the tank to escape. The Admiral is not happy, but he's glad the mission is successful and gives Bernard a bottle of whiskey. Bernard and his team visit a bar where Ben attempts to flirt with a waitress, Laura, leading to friendly banter among the team. Later, Bernard and Stanton part ways. Bernard goes for kebabs while Stanton visits Laura's house. They share a mutual attraction and become close. Laura, a local, expresses her distress about Bosnia's issues and her desire to help through an NGO she's planning to establish. While Laura prepares dinner, her brother and his friends arrive, demanding a bar. Laura refuses and orders them to leave. Stanton intervenes, leading to a violent confrontation. When a friend of Laura's brother threatens Stanton with a gun, they are forced outside where Bernard is waiting. Bernard and Stanton retaliate, injuring all the attackers. Bernard inquires about their identities, to which Laura reveals one of them is her brother. Bernard then departs, leaving Stanton with Lara. The following day, Lara reveals a gold bar to Stanton at home, weighing 12.5 kilos and worth about $150 million. They then go scuba diving in a lake, where Lara shows Stanton an underwater city. She shares her grandfather's story of escaping German soldiers during their citywide evacuation. He had witnessed German soldiers moving boxes of gold bars from a truck to a bank, which is where the gold bar originated. Lara's grandfather, as a child, steals a gold bar and flees from a German soldier. He hides the gold under a cemetery statue and escapes into the jungle. Hearing gunfire and screams, he realizes his parents and townsfolk have been killed. A man from a rebel group finds him, assures him he's not a Nazi, and promises to help. The rebels take Lara's grandfather, then a child, to a mountain to detonate a city dam, aiming to eliminate the Nazi soldiers. The child triggers the explosion, submerging the city and the Nazis in water. As time passes, the sunken city is forgotten, forever lost beneath the lake. Lara expresses her intent to retrieve the submerged gold to rebuild her war-torn country. Stanton shares this with his Navy SEAL team, estimating the treasure's worth at around $300 million. Barnes notes the treasure's location in enemy territory, 150 feet underwater. Lara explains her plan to use the gold to benefit her people by building schools and hospitals. She proposes a 50-50 split of the treasure's value with Barnes's team. Despite being Navy SEALs without official mission approval, Barnes convinces the team to undertake this memorable task, which could greatly aid the locals. The team agrees to proceed with the plan. While Petrovich's army continues their search for the U.S. Navy SEAL commandos, Stanton outlines the plan to retrieve the underwater city's bank vault treasure. He provides Jack with the safe's model number to prepare for its opening. They've identified a diving spot and need to gather necessary equipment, including an electrode for safe cutting and numerous oxygen cylinders. Barnes inquires about the timeline, and Ben estimates at least 5 nights due to the 2-hour underwater limit to avoid decompression sickness. A question arises about how to transport 2,000 gold bars to the surface, leaving everyone puzzled. They then proceed to the market to collect the required items. They secure a truck from Dimitri, a base camp worker. Lara discovers her gold bar has been stolen by her brother, who's using pieces of it to make purchases. Ben devises a plan to raise the gold bars to the water's surface, using a cargo net and an air-filled parachute. The challenge of transporting the gold to land arises. Jake proposes a solution involving his 2 helicopter pilot friends, who are known for their bravery and experience in enemy territories. Jake offers them $1 million to airlift the gold from a specified location, to which they agree. The plane then comes out of nowhere and starts shooting at the helicopter, but the pilots manage to take down the plane. The shop owner, who received a gold piece from Lara's brother, informs the Bosnian Serb army and provides them with Lara's brother's car number. Petrovich's men apprehend Lara's brother and his friend and recover the gold bar. Meanwhile, Admiral Levin summons his team at the command base and informs them of a committee report regarding their tank operation in Sarajevo. The committee has decided to deport them from the base camp within 36 hours. Despite Bernas's plea to stay, Levin states he is powerless to change the decision. Bernas informs the team that their plan is canceled and they must prepare to leave, causing disappointment among the team, particularly Lara and Stanton. That night, Bernas, Kurt, Ben, and Jake were at a bar. An idea struck Ben as he observed his whiskey. He proposed creating an underwater air zone to avoid decompression sickness, potentially completing their mission in 8 hours. He asked Stanton about a solid place in the church, which turned out to be a stone gallery. There was also a brass bale. Ben suggested filling the bale with air from a generator, reducing the water level at the stone place, and using it as their operation base. They planned to start immediately and return before morning. Jake approaches 2 pilots for a helicopter, but they decline due to short notice. He then communicates with nearby airplanes, which drop large equipment onto the lake. Barnes's team parachutes into the lake and, along with Jake, they start pumping air into a submerged church bale, creating an air pocket. Ben places a generator in the bale, with one pipe leading to the lake surface for air intake. The generator's other pipe is directed to a stone structure in the church, gradually creating a gap as the water level decreases. Petrovich apprehends Lara's brother and searches Lara's house. He discovers diving gear, equipment, and a map marking a lake. Realizing the significance of the lake, Petrovich prepares to investigate. Meanwhile, Barnes's team establishes an underwater base, allowing them to work continuously. They start drilling through the church walls, breach the bank wall, and gain entry. Upon entering the bank's vault, they find it empty except for 10 gold bars. Jake blames Lara for the misinformation, but Barnes defends her, attributing the error to her grandfather's childhood memories. As they prepare to leave, Barnes notices a recently constructed wall with bricks bearing names, one of which is upside down. They dig into the wall, revealing another vault containing a large wooden box with old paintings and another box filled with gold bars. Overwhelmed, they begin collecting the gold. Guided by the map from Lara's house, Petrovich arrives at the location and notices old notes in the water. Realizing someone else is after the gold, he dispatches his men into the lake. At the base camp, one of his men reports overhearing pilots Rennie and Detroit discussing gold. Admiral Levin summons them to his office, where they confess out of fear of losing their jobs. Meanwhile, Barnes's team has gathered all the gold bars and is preparing to attach parachutes to the net. Petrovich's men attack Barnes's team, but are killed in the process. One of them ascended due to a released parachute. Petrovich orders a grenade attack on them. Barnes's team regroups in the underwater base, aware of the threat above. They continue their work, securing gold bars to cargo nets and attaching parachutes filled with gas. However, the gas supply is limited, restricting the parachute's buoyancy. Petrovich's team drops grenades into the water, causing the underwater church and bank to collapse. Petrovich's squad was persistently launching grenades from an elevated position. As a result, Barnes and his crew grab a parachute and distance themselves slightly from the bank. However, to transport them to the gold, Additional gas was required in the parachute. The remaining gas canisters were concealed in the bank and the church. Barnes then instructs his parachute team to remain in place while he retrieves the remaining oxygen cylinders. Barnes ventures to retrieve an oxygen cylinder from the center of the lake. At this point, Petrovich's squad intensifies their grenade assault, causing the bank and the church to become entirely blocked off. Despite the chaos, Barnes manages to escape with the oxygen cylinder. He returns to the parachute, releases the cylinder's gas, and as a result, the parachute ascends to the ground carrying the gold. The moment the parachute touches down, it catches Petrovich's eye. Barnes and his squad emerge from the water, only to find themselves encircled by Petrovich's team. Petrovich is on the verge of launching a rocket at Barnes when a Navy helicopter unexpectedly arrives, obliterating Petrovich and his crew's position, resulting in their demise. The sight of this brings immense joy to Barnes's team and Lara. The helicopter is piloted by Detroit and Rainey, who were hired by Jake to transport the gold to the water's surface. Admiral Levine then questions Barnes's team. He urges them to disclose everything without any omissions. Stanton responds by stating that the recovered gold will significantly aid the people of Bosnia. He informs Ben Levin that they have acquired a total of 24 tons of gold. The market value of this gold is $302 million. Upon hearing this, Levine becomes lost in thought. Admiral Levin conducted a press conference where he showcased a gold bar. During the press conference, Admiral Levin announced that they had recovered an ancient French treasure worth $150 million from underwater, which they intended to return to France. In gratitude, the French government awarded medals to the Navy SEAL Commandos and Lara. Following the meeting, Admiral Levin summoned Barnes's team and Lara to his cabin. He presented them with checks, explaining that he had sold the remaining gold bars worth $150 million on the market with the assistance of a relative, and that this was their share. Upon inspecting their checks, Barnes's team found that they had received a modest sum of $3,000. This unexpected revelation led them to suspect that Admiral Levin had retained the majority of their share. However, Lara was taken aback when she saw her check, which was valued at $150 million, enabling her to fulfill her NGO mission. Lara expressed her gratitude to Admiral Levin. As they exited, Lara proposed a celebratory gathering, and they all agreed to go and have a good time after achieving everything they wanted to do. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.